for your bartender, Mr. Mpo Pops Mudikwane. Thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lite Bar. Ladies and gentlemen, the first ever Mind Matters pop-up bar, proudly brought to you by Castle Lite, the first of its kind in the world. So tonight, ladies and gents, is all about talking about the stigma around mental health. So, just a couple of house rules. Something you need to know. It's not your usual house rules about the emergency exits are there. If there's a fire, stay away from people with a weave. It's not those ones. The house rules for tonight are simple. We're all real people here, and we're all going through something. So we're going to use this platform to talk. We're going to use it to open up to people. I want to take this time as well to send a shout out and introduce all our guests that are live streaming from home. Hi there to all of you. Remember, if you want more friends to come on and to watch with you, let them join us on www.94.7.co.za. Like I said, guys, today is all about sharing the heavy and keeping the light. We're going to talk about issues, the sad statistics that surround mental health, especially around men. 40% of men keep their silence about their mental issues. Toxic masculinity, it's things like culture, things like indoda ikali. We grew up in homes where depression wasn't a thing. Our parents had gone through the most. You know, our parents had gone through apartheid, had gone through all these struggles. So when now you want to come and say, I'm depressed. How can you be depressed when there's groceries in the house? That's what they would say to us. How can you be depressed when your father has a car with electric windows? That's what they would say to us. So we want to take this opportunity to take away those stigmas. Things like indoda ikali. Men do cry. To take away stigmas like a man must always be strong. I'm not always strong. I failed to open a peanut butter jar today at home. I'm not always strong. Today is all about talking, sharing. We've had an incredibly rough 2020. So today, I don't have a bunch of experts and all of that. I have my friends here. I have my friends here who I'm going to introduce to you shortly because we need to talk about this. 40% of all men don't talk about their mental issues, their mental health issues. And what happens is we account for 4 in 5 suicides. Over 78% of all suicides are men under the age of 35. So we need these platforms. We need to talk about these issues. The worst thing we always do when we see each other, boy, unjan, I'm grand. You just did it now. How are you, ma'am? I'm fine. No, we're not. So that's what today is about, talking about those issues. So I'm going to introduce our guests. I'm the bartender today. As you can see, I've been practicing because that's who we feel we can open up to, our barber, our bartender. Slick, did you see that? Did you see that? Shaloni Zandla, ngabi no more, na Shai Zandla. Oh, I practiced that for 2 hours. So like I said, ladies and gents, today I have my friends with me. And when I introduce them, please guys, they are our panelists, they're my friends. Let's make them feel special. Let's give them a warm introduction. I'm going to introduce them. And when I do, I want them to come out to a warm reception. Like I said to you, these are not professionals. These are people who are my friends. We're here to have a chat. We're here to keep it light. We're sharing the heavy and keeping the light. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring out my first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a style icon, a musician, a producer, a writer, a business tycoon, and a family man. Ladies and gentlemen, a vendor man, a man who's so proud of his vendor heritage that he even has a tattoo of an avocado. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and help me welcome the one, the only, Riky Rick! Otini boy. Ladies and gentlemen, Pozonke, the man who eats the kotini. Hlala yi, boy, hlala yi, hlala yi.
I told him not to tell anybody about the avocado tattoo.
Ladies and gents, Riky is not alone. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a doctor on our premises. Ladies and gentlemen, a qualified doctor. She is also the vice president of Mind Matters, which is a group that actually deals with mental health, ladies and gentlemen. And she's recently been taken off the market. Yes. Newly engaged, newly lobolad, with more than 7 cows. Please put your hands together and help me welcome the ever so talented, the ever so gorgeous, the ever so qualified, the one, the only, Dr. Khanyile.
Hi. 7 cows.
Hi. It's a more than, like 9.
I see.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we want to keep things light. We want to make sure everyone is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So we thought, let's switch it up. So I made sure I invite all my friends, ladies and gents. As you can hear by this accent, I didn't go to I went to Model C schools. So I have friends who are lighter than Dr. Khanyile. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from his house today, which has Wi-Fi and electricity. It gives me great honor and pleasure to introduce a man who has more than 25 years in the world of comedy, to the point where he is now a lecturer at the Henley Business School. Ladies and gentlemen, the award-winning socialite, a man who has more tattoos than Riky Rick and uses more gel than Dr. Khanyile. Please put your hands together and help me welcome the one, the only, the legendary Mr. John Vlismas!
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Excellent.
John, this is not sanitized.
No, it's not. I had a great time backstage.
John, there are children watching here, man.
Excellent. Keep drinking, kids.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Castle Lite is not sold to anyone under the ages of 18. Let's enjoy responsibly. Yes, let's drink responsibly. To those of you who are here, we'll make sure you have one, provided you are of the age limit. Ladies and gentlemen, like I told you, I am 2 people, from the hood to the suburbs to Venda. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to keep it hood. Our next guest, ladies and gentlemen, hi guys, I can't even mention all the things he's done. That list is longer than my arm. This guy's an author. He's a presenter. He's a business mogul. He's a next door neighbor. Guys, he's done it all. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who's gonna bring the fire. The guy who sold his drink on the streets, in the shops, and then just became a big mogul. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, the legend, DJ Smooth.
Woo!
Yay! Oi, 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 oi. So guys, like I said to you, this is just a panel of my friends. The whole idea tonight is just to share the heavy and keep it light. Let's be honest, 2020 has not been the greatest of years. And I think we've all gone through the most mentally. You know, not only have we lost jobs, we've lost family members, we've lost partners, we've lost relationships.
You had a really tough week.
No, yeah, John, yeah. It was tough. Going from full bouquet DSTV to the 7 channels. There was a time when I thought I saw DJ Spoo on Uyajola 99. No, but it's been a tough year. And I think I for one wasn't prepared for it mentally. You know, as you know, I was touring at the time. I had a lot of shows that I was doing. I was never home, and for the first time, I was forced to sit at home.
Me.
Oh yes, you in the front line, right?
I see.
You in the front line. So I think a lot of us have gone through a lot of mental distress over this past year. Dr. Khanyile, you in the front lines, what were you seeing in the front lines?
So luckily for me, I work with children in the field of pediatrics. But frequently we had to lose people because we had to have staff that would be allocated to casualty. So casualty is the first port of call into the hospital.
Yeah.
And we would see things like people waiting on benches for oxygen. We would see ventilators being given to patients. And literally, we already do something called triage, where we see who has the highest priority and need.
Triage.
Triage. T-R-I,
Sorry,
yes.
sorry. No, I too, for my friends that don't understand. No, I knew triage. Don't has a triage. Triage.
And so we literally had to make decisions every single moment of the day. The minute a bed opened up, who's going to get that bed? And so it was psychologically draining to be a frontline worker, but also the fear that if I get coronavirus and I need a ventilator, what if there's not a bed for me? And so a lot of people didn't think about the fact that being irresponsible wasn't just a thing that we ask you to do and prevent, because you're not just saving yourself, but you're protecting us. Because if you need to come to the hospital if you were in an accident and you've been exposed to corona, you expose me, and I could potentially die. And so it was tricky. I was mad, man. Oh, but I had to deal with that, and a lot of us had to deal with that.
Malume Sbuda?
Malume ndoda.
Ah, marinye ukuthi malume ndoda ngevoice. Unevoice abo malume. You're the guy, you know, when I think about if as a guy I needed to open up to someone, you'd be like the malume. You know what I mean? So for you, 2020, you had all these plans, you had all these goals. You've had 2020 vision, I think, since 2010. You know, you're the guy who was talking about 2020 10 years ago. Ngizobe billionaire by 2010. Ngizobe ngijayenge ntshebe fully grown by 2020. So I wanted to know from you, how has this year been and how has it impacted you mentally?
Jeez, man, I think for me this has been a great year for black people. And I do know a lot of people disagree with me, but I think a lot of us
We want to know why you say that.
We've been needing a reset button for quite some time.
Yes.
We've been needing a moment where we can think about our future, think about applying ourselves differently. Because a lot of the times we're just caught in this matrix. Wake up in the morning, go to work, weekends, bills, July, Sabuya, December, Cape Town, Sabuya, start another year over and over. We needed a year where it's a reset button. It pushes you to the corner. You've got your back against the wall to think differently, to start being independent. Now, a lot of people are dependent. We are dependent on other people to pay us to make a living.
Yes.
But I really do think that this year gave us the time to think about other ways creatively on how we can apply ourselves in our art, in our passion, what we do. Other people started thinking of side hustles. And as you're saying, I mean, one of my businesses that I started a couple of years ago, Leadership 2020, has always been preaching about 2020 being that year where I kind of believe entrepreneurship would have blown up by the time. Entrepreneurship would be the coolest thing to do at the time. Yes. We should all be entrepreneurs. Let's have side hustles, etc. But at the time, I kind of felt when I was living and preaching that message, sometimes now message you know.
Yes.
But I think I'm starting to see abantu abaningi doing something with their lives khona manje. I guess that's why I'm saying finally it's a reset button. Abantu ababhaya basiluzile isipani, abantu ababhaya they lost a lot of things.
Yes.
We also lost a lot of income, etc. But I think it was just that year where a lot of people are waking up. And I think it's a beautiful thing because you start again and you go all the way back up, you know.
John, do you agree? I think the person you were having fun with just fell. Do you agree on? Do you agree with Sbu? Because Sbu has a more positive outlook on what this year has been for us.
No, I don't have a positive outlook ever. I think you know that about me. I think positivity leads to death in 100% of cases. I think if you look at
Instagram.
If you look at the stats, people have never been more stressed, depressed. This has been what they're calling the biggest psychological experiment in history.
Yes.
And a lot of people have suffered. I mean, I know that people in addiction
Sorry, there's a Polo driver.
Can you hear that?
If anyone's driving a Polo, please.
Yeah.
The alarm is going.
Excellent. I think relapses are up like 60% or something like that. So a lot of people in isolation, because if you're not well mentally and you're in isolation, it's not a great place to be because we are a social creature. So even though we're connecting on, artificial platforms, we are feeling the physical effect. And I think there's some research that shows that isolation from other humans creates a sensation similar to pain.
And here's what I want to know, right? And Riky, I'm going to throw this to you, and Dr. Khanya, I want you to jump onto this. As guys, why do we find it hard to open up to each other? Why do I find it hard to pick up the phone and say to you, yo, Riky, I'm not doing okay. I'm not okay. I'm going through a dark patch. I'm not coping. Why do we find it as gents hard to sort of open up to each other about the issues that are actually plaguing us in here? Why do you think that is?
I mean, personally, I can't speak for all gents,
Yeah.
you know, because everyone goes through their own thing. But I mean, me personally, the thing I've been looking for my whole life is a good support structure.
Yes.
That makes you a bit comfortable to reach out to people, to talk to people when you need to talk to people. I've been on a journey looking for that. You know, I'm 33, and I think I'm almost there, but I'm not fully there in a space where I can 100% give my emotions and my baggage and all my shit over to somebody else. So,
Why is that?
For me personally, it's...
Where's that block coming from, would you say?
I mean, I'm looking for somebody to trust personally for me.
Okay.
You know, and because the only person I've ever trusted fully is my partner, which is a woman.
Yes.
I haven't found that man to confide in. You know, I didn't have my dad. I didn't have my older brother, and me were close when we were young, but the more we grew up, we sort of drifted apart emotionally. So I've never had that any relationship with a man where I open up, you know, as much as I do with a woman, you know. So, you know, I think for me it's just looking for that real partner that you know is not going to switch on you a year from now, or is not going to be trying to kiss your girlfriend behind the bar, you know, or is not going to be trying to steal your position in the rugby team. It's like we've been so competitive with each other, it's like it's hard to open up about serious things after that, you know.
Dr. Khanyile, I think this is where I wanted to jump in. When it comes to men, like medically, why is it that we have this inability, or we, like with girls, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have an ability to go out, as in friends, I'm going through something, you go out, you have a chat, you open up to each other, you cry, you have a drink, you dance, you have a good time. With us, I won't tell Riky I'm going through something. I'll just go, hey boy, I need to see you. We'll go out, we'll just party up a storm. I wouldn't even tell him what happened that night. We'll just have a wild night and just engage in toxic behavior without me ever opening up to him. Why is it that as men we find it hard to just like open up to each other about what's happening in here and what's happening in here?
So this is a very complex topic, and it's got so many levels that you have to go to. And the one I want to start with is the inner child. If you look at psychology, they always talk about the inner child, and
Yes.
this inner child relates to the world. By the age of 7, you already have your personality set. And
Yes.
so this is why father figures are so important, male figures in your family are so important, because the way that you relate to those people will determine how you relate to the rest of the world. And the other problem you find is that when men are absent in your life, the people that then replace those are idols. So you find gang leaders, cool kids at school, celebrities, so no pressure. But those are the guys that kids idolize and they model their behavior after. And so this is why we find that because men by nature are competitive, women are also competitive, but we're not encouraged to be that way. Men are encouraged to be competitive. They need to be the provider. They need to be the breadwinner. They need to be strong and just move on. And they're more prone to burnout. So DJ Spoo was speaking about, you know, January, then you move through the year, then you go from July, then you move on, and then it goes into December, then you go to, you know, that cycle is a burnout cycle that then resets itself in January every year. And men drive that cycle predominantly. Women tend to really fall into that line because, you know, we can handle, we can deal. But when we also then look at the social aspect of it, we look at toxic masculinity.
Yes.
And so toxic masculinity is very topical, and a lot of people have brought it up,
Yes.
where men are expected to show their dominance, and they are unable to express those emotions, and therefore they have to physically show their dominance. That's where you get gender-based violence. That's where you get child abuse. That's where you get men having one of the highest rates of suicide because they can't deal with their issues by talking to other men, because this man is trying to take my job. This man is trying to take my woman. So how do I show someone who I think can relate to me, but is probably going to take my place in society, that I'm weak? I'm going to give up my game, and he's going to steal that position from me. And I think that's with women. We just say, whenever girls do that, we're like, girl, you know, she just trash, she insert word here, but we move on, and we're able to share that with one another in a space that allows for that, whereas men don't find those avenues.
And I want to throw this one to the gents at the end. The pressures of being in the spotlight. Malume DJ Sbu, you were obviously in the limelight before HD TV.
But you look more HD now.
It looks better
You look
now.
much sharper now.
They say imali iyagezana, Jono. Money washes.
I thought it was Kagisa Ladika. I was going to say, hey, I love Queen Solo, man. I'm sorry. Sorry it got cancelled. No, man.
No, the first time you saw him, he had a black mask and an orange overall. Now this is
That
the
was
guy.
That was not me. That was not me. Don't give me credits I don't deserve.
Okay, story for another day. Being in the spotlight, guys, does it add pressure? So does it add pressure?
Yeah,
now
I think
that
it
you're in the
does.
spotlight,
It
because
definitely.
Dr. Khanyile was saying as well that you're in the spotlight. Now you have people that are looking up to you. You know, you have Riky who's looking up to you. He's coming up in the game. And Riky just said something very important, that when he was growing up, he didn't have any male figures that he developed a sort of trust system with. So for me, you coming up in the game, you know, before the game was actually set up, what were the pressures like for you, especially being in the spotlight at the time?
It's actually the truth. A lot of people are in the spotlight. There's pressure. You know, there's pressure to look a certain way. There's pressure to. You know, so you're sort of, and then it becomes a subconscious thing. Just as soon as you're out of your house, there's just a certain way in which you should behave, unless you're in your own personal space.
Yeah.
But then again, for instance, this year, a lot of us musicians lost a lot of revenue, a lot of money, etc. You look at issues like some of our peers who have unfortunately passed on, or some who have dealt with depression, etc. Sometimes it has to do with the fact that sometimes you're actually not abantu, sometimes abakunakanga the way when ucabanga ukuthi bakunake ngakhona.
Yes.
But because consciously you think bakubheke yonke into oyenzayo, you know, there is pressure. But then again, I always, and going back to what she was saying, ukuthi abantwana, they become what they're supposed to become from age 6, 7 already. They're already, you know, what they're supposed to be. Time is very important in every child's life. And the boy child as well does need that role, not only just role modeling,
Yeah.
but that father figure as well. And just being told not to necessarily compete with other children, but to become the best them they can become. But the society that we are growing up under, I have to be number one on the charts. I have to be the best guy. I have to have better muscles than that guy. I have to wear better clothes. I have to drive a better car. That's the society that you're growing up in. And now when you're in the spotlight, you've got millions of eyes on you. You've got that pressure sometimes. Noma mhlambe soyabona ukuthi kuyanye izinto azivayeli grand mara kwamele man ngizifake esikoloteni ngizithayire ngizihame kumele ngibonakale ngihlale ngitop, and sometimes you don't necessarily have to. But yeah,
And do you guys feel like, sorry
Yeah.
about that, do you guys feel like social media is adding to these pressures? Do you feel like,
I think it was obviously tougher in it's still your time, but in your time.
yeah, number 3310.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it was tougher to get through and to be in the spotlight at that time. But I think now people are seeing a whole different pressure of, even if you haven't reached the heights and you haven't done the groundwork that they would have done before they became famous, you're already in the spotlight. You know, you're in the spotlight from high school, from standard 6. If you have a phone, these kids are on TikTok, these kids are on Snapchat, they're on all these apps. So the pressure is starting from a younger age,
Yeah.
with really nothing that you actually do, you know. So I think it's also a bit, it's different now, and it's a bit harder for everyone. I think everyone can have issues of fame without actually being famous,
Yeah.
or without having anything to do. It's a bit, I think it stretches a bit more to everybody now, you know. So that pressure is not really like a spotlight pressure or like a fame pressure. It's a social media, it's a device pressure now. That's also, you know, added to the fire. You get me?
John, do you agree? Do you feel like kids today, people today on social media, looking at people's lives and envying what they have and feeling the pressure to get there quicker than they normally would?
I mean, ultimately we're apes. Like, you know, if you understand science, we're apes, and we love patterns. The difference now is the apes are under the microscope right away. You wake up being judged by the whole world because of your device, right, and your contribution. And then the thing is, we're all obsessed with patterns, so we create false patterns. So we create a life that we don't live, so other people can be jealous of the life we don't have. it gets very complicated for young apes because they really struggle with that kind of level of judgment. At least we were just laughing now backstage. We had to wait till you finished telling the joke or release the single to find out what the audience thought. Now, you know what they think of you before you leave Standard 6.
Yeah.
That's a tough room because it's in your head. Like, that's why kids are killing themselves, because that judgment is happening on a global scale in their head before they even have a chance to, like, just let me show you what I can do first, you know? So I think it's tricky. But what's interesting to me is this conversation is so binary, because you're talking about men, we do this. You're not all men. Like, you can't say girls do this. We're not all girls. Like, it's not that simple. I think we're all creatures. Toxic masculinity affects men and women. It's a concept. It's not a.
That's very true.
We don't grow up and all become plumbers. Like that doesn't work like that. You know, all black dudes are not the same way. We got to get beyond that. We got to find a level of sophistication where we educate ourselves and we start to understand that this shit shifts all the time. People tell you that you're one thing. It's devastating. So learn the ability to be resilient and get beyond what other people define you as.
Ooh. Aye, John Vlismas, ladies and
Telling you.
gentlemen. Aye.
Yes, they judge me as good. I'm rock hard as we sit here.
But John, how do we get there? Because I feel like
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Let me host for a second. So,
Please.
Sorry.
you know, because what you just said, that insight is very important.
Yes.
But we never actually hear enough voices that are coming into the mix and saying, let's look at things this way or that way. How do we change sort of the narrative? Because till today, I don't understand what toxic masculinity means, you know?
Yeah.
I know my negative traits. I know my positive traits.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I can recognize some negative traits in my brother here or my sister here, but I don't know what a toxic masculinity is, you know?
Yeah.
But I do understand that people have their negatives and they have their ups and their downs and their good parts of their personalities and bad parts of their personalities. How do you push that to the front for people to start relating to the couple conversations we're having?
It's such a hard question because it's personal. And you know, for me, I stopped doing comedy because it's a poison. Fame is a mild poison. It's something which you get, which you don't know why you got it. So like in your position, you're in a really good place now to influence a lot of people. So I think education, if I think about Spoo, when I grew up and I was watching Spoo, like the dude was wearing a pillowcase and yelling at people.
That was not me.
No, I know. I totally know that about you, right? Because we hung out, like, you were doing business stuff even then, right?
Yeah.
And I knew the level of sophistication in you. And now, when I hear you, like, talking and articulating thoughts and you're, like, developing business, you're employing people, like, that's such a valuable contribution. Like, you're a high-definition version of what you were before. So I want to answer your question is, you can do the bare minimum to become famous. Because it could just be a fluke. But if you can take that and you can spin it into something constructive, that's so cool, dude. Like, if you could do that, that would be the best gift you could ever give this country. Because a lot of young people are going to, the way you're looking for someone, they are looking straight at you going, you're the guy. And I can't wait to see what you do with that.
Don't lynch us.
All of what he just said.
Don't lynch us.
Yes, that.
So guys, here's what I want to know, right? What are we going to do to break the stigma? Right?
How much time do you have?
Because John said something very important, which is what triggered Ricky's reaction. John said we need to stop thinking about ourselves in these silos. Men are like this. This is like this. That's why it's taken us a long time to accept different people, to accept gay people, to accept other people, because we go, this is not in our culture. This is not. So what are we doing to break the stigma? Because I want exactly the message that you said. I want Riky to say that type of stuff in his music, so that when kids are listening to it, they go, it's okay for me to break down in front of my friends. It's okay for me to open up to them. It's okay for me as a guy to walk up to my other rich friend and say, yo, I'm no longer rich. I'm broke now. Without fear of being judged or being kicked out of the WhatsApp group. So what are the things, before we get to your soliloquy, I know you're going to go in hard. I want to know from the gents quickly, and I want to end it with you. From the gents, what can we do, what should we do to break the stigma around mental health and to start engaging in conversations with our friends, with our family, with younger kids, our children, you know. So let me start on that side with you,
I'd say self. Because it all starts in the family. Everything that we're all experiencing right now, we all come from different types of families. It starts in the family. And as I was saying, from Inguzisi, it's about teaching them how great, how awesome, how powerful, capable, how blessed, and how incredible they are, they themselves as they are, which they are enough, right?
Yes.
So it's about self, right? So
yes.
I think somebody was talking about we encourage competitive behavior. Yes, that's how the world has been designed. Sports, whatever you want to talk about, we're all competing. But once kids from an early age, they can know that they're enough as they are, they're incredible as they are. Like all of the different things that we're teaching our children today, those are some of the things I teach my child. My child is confident. My child my child understands how great she is as she is.
Yes.
I guess because both parents are there to play that role, and I know not every child has got that luxury, and it's sad, but it starts from the home. It starts from us dealing with that boy child, with that girl child, so that when they go out to the world, they do not need any validation from out there. And once they are like that, even the types of relationships that they build, the types of friendships that they build them knowing what even if I'm going through this,
yes.
But then also coming back to family, both parents, if you're going to make a kid, you have to be playing a role in being there as a parent. Because now that for especially that need to all in a time, the child grows up to become somebody different. And I think a lot of people who come from families where both parents are there, they turned out different from a lot of the kids who come out from single family household. Single
Yeah.
Single
Parent household.
You understand?
Yeah. Now what it's past 8.
Yeah, sure. We don't pay later,
From the singular houses.
Singular.
Uncle Rick.
I mean, personally for me, I don't know what everybody needs to do, but for me, what helped me get into position to win, I have like 2 sections of my life. Mm-hmm. I've got the life before I actually had a real life.
Yes.
I've got the life where I was just like, street crawling and trying to figure out, who I'm going to be in the next 20 years,
Yes.
And that was like a shitty part of my life, And while I was in that part of my life, everyone was trying to help me. Everyone was trying to give me suggestions and solutions. This is what you need to do. Maybe this will make you happy. Maybe this will help you, right? Mm-hmm. And nothing ever worked. The day my life sort of turned around is when I decided to myself that, damn, I actually need some help. And when I recognized I actually need some help and I believed that I need some help, I went into a room, I sat with 50 strangers, and we said what's on our minds, we said what's on our heads. And we did that every day I did that every day for 8 years, And that's what helped me. But I would say the beginning of it was going to look for that help,
Recognizing that you needed it first.
And not being ashamed to just go into a little corner of the world that nobody else understands and be with, a whole bunch of rejects and talk about your issues, That's what helped me. I don't even offer other artists that come to me like help unless they really want it, because it's got to come from the inside. So for me, when you get into position to look for help, there's always going to be help. If you're in tax problems or if you're in finance problems, there's always somebody you can go talk to fix up your tax. There's somebody you can talk to fix up your investments in your accounts.
Why not for your
You're feeling sick, your legs broke, your knees bummed out. There's always a doctor to come see, You want to feel happy, you want to laugh a little bit, you want to, lift your spirits. You'll go see John.
No,
I won't lift his spirits.
You get what I'm saying?
Some of me is on fire. Wouldn't touch
You get me?
I get you, though.
You want to get some advice and hear a story about how a kid can come from Ekasi and make it to the top of African business, African black business.
Yes.
There's somebody you can go see here. He's even created a platform for people to come.
Yes.
He's not dragging people to jump into buses and say, come listen to me speak. People are coming because they need the help and they're getting the help.
Yes.
So with everything, as long as you look for it and you want to look for it,
you find it.
You definitely find it, So, 40% of men don't speak about their emotions.
Exactly.
There's 60% of them that, might be doing the right thing,
So, Dr. Khanyile, before we come to you, John, just to echo or just to jump on Ricky's point, how important is therapy? How important when it comes to dealing with issues like this? Where do you get to a point where you go, I'm actually going to go for therapy?
So the first thing is that everyone thinks you need to be something wrong with you to go for therapy.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not. It's
Yes.
like going to gym with your brain and your heart. Like it's something you just do. You don't
That
have to
was
have something wrong
beautifully
with you.
put.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's not a head doctor because you've got something wrong with you. It's just because your parents and the parents before them thought that if you couldn't handle your own shit, then there was something wrong with you. But the truth is, it's excellent to do therapy. You don't have to be feeling mad to go. You just go. And it helps you with all of this stuff that the guys are saying. It's like, be self-aware, work on yourself, and therapists can help you with that. So I couldn't agree more with both the guys. Be aware of yourself and what you need. It's
Thank you,
super
man.
important, massively important. There's nothing wrong with it.
Thank you for that, John. Okay, guys, look, I'm going to open up the floor to our Q&A, right? I'm going to open up our floor to Q&A. I think there's a lot that's been said on stage, and we'd like to hear from you. So we're going to take 2 questions from the floor. We're just going to get the microphones. Our brother with the ponytail is just going to come around.
That's a man bun.
It's a man bun. I thought it
not
was
a
a headpiece.
ponytail.
I thought it was
It's
a
a man bun.
headpiece. I thought it was a
I can't
headpiece.
believe he's in
Correct.
charge.
That's so
He doesn't know what's going on. It's a man bun.
It's a headpiece, John. This
Come
thing.
on.
It's like 4 threads tied with another one. It's 5 threads.
It's like the only not role model on the stage.
Come on.
It's 5 threads. See, Kapoy.
All right, we're going to have our first question from here, my brother.
Is this thing on? Oh, it's on.
Oh, yeah, it's on.
So I'm sitting here and I'm listening and I'm thinking to myself, a lot of this just sounds really good, but a lot of it intuitively, something deep down bothers me. And it has a lot to do with how we view the world. John says, very binary view of the world, and I agree. Because I'm listening to what Khanyile said first. Dr. Khanyile says, kids' personalities are developed by the time they hit 7, and it's important for them to have male figures in their lives because it shapes that. And Sbu says, yeah, really, there must be a mom and a dad that builds a different child. And I'm wondering if that is perhaps not part of the problem, us holding on to that narrative, because it means there is a correct way of doing things, and that anything outside of that is an incorrect way of doing things. Like, for instance, what if I grew up in a household where I was an adopted kid to 2 lesbian women? Right? I don't have a father. That doesn't mean my family is any less normal or any less structured just because there's no father figure in mine. And for me, this is personal, right? Because Riky has a line where he says, they say I grew up like I didn't have a father. That's because I grew up without a father. That's the line. And when I heard it, I had to reflect on my own relationship with my dad. Because it's a strained relationship. I come from a household of gender-based violence. And that impacted my relationship with my dad. And ironically, last year, the very last comedy show I went to was John's. And it was the weirdest comedy show I ever went to because...
I can vouch for that, yeah.
Yeah, because I left there wanting to call my dad. Because John spent 40 minutes reflecting on his father's death, like the last couple of minutes of his father living, and he just made jokes about that. And I was like, yo, what if my dad dies and I didn't fix that relationship? And I didn't. So that relationship for me is a very serious one. But I'm left wondering, would I be any less of a complete person just because I didn't have a solid relationship with my father? And I don't think that is the case. And I think we should devoid ourselves from ever saying that, because kids then grow up thinking, yo, I don't have a dad, and these people say dads are important. Therefore, there must be something wrong with me. And that creates, I guess, some of the self-esteem issues kids just grow up. And I'd like Sbu and Dr. Khanyile to just respond
Jump in
to
on that. I think you answered yourself in your question, but I think Dr. Khanyile, please take it away.
So that's a brilliant, summary of a lot of the things that people talk about. We do have a very binary view of the world, but I think when we speak about a father figure, we must be careful not to say it's a father. It's just someone that you identify as being your father or someone who will care for you, who will protect you. And this is why you find children who are raised in homes where they don't have a man in the house who is able to provide that role in a beneficial way.
Yes.
Will either look to have dysfunctional relationships with that man, or will then go outside and look to have relationships with other men. Sometimes, if they're lucky, we have community leaders who will then play that father figure and teach them how to become successful people by instilling those principles in them of understanding who they are, respect, knowing that they are successful in whatever it is that they're doing. But when you have a father figure, because at the end of the day, even with me, I love my mom. Listen, my mom is the one. But my dad also gives me another element. There's just something that he does that my mom doesn't do. And even for me, even if my dad wasn't there, I have uncles, I have, friends of my mom's who I really adore and I look up to. So it's not to say that my dad is not a functional person in my life. It's just that the father figures that we have play different parts in shaping our personality the younger we are. So when we have that absent role there, we never see how to respond to that person. We never see how that person responds to other women. We never see how that person works and has a work ethic that is consistent with making things work. Not necessarily that they have to do the right things and be perfect all the time, but definitely we have to get out of this frame of mind that says, if I don't have a father in the house, I'm going to be a failure. That's not it. We need to have responsible father figures for children.
Yes. Ms. Wu, is there
I think
anything-
she's got a point. Just to add in there as well, I watched a very interesting video a few days ago, where this guy dies, goes to heaven, meets God, and God starts asking about abantu abasele, umndeni wami, my parents, my friends. And this godly figure says to this person, every person you've ever interacted with out there on earth was you. There is nobody else on earth out there. All these millions and billions of people that are out there, it's not other people, it's you. Sure. And I've also watched an interesting video of somebody talking about the 12 disciples of Jesus being the 12 different ways in how your mind operates, as opposed to being 12 disciples of Jesus, but being 12 different dimensions in how your mind can operate, and you should lead and control those senses or those disciples, because if you don't, one of them becomes a Judas. So with that being said, it goes back to what she is saying. Even if it doesn't come from your actual biological father, or a time already, or lady, but if a child is raised in that environment where, especially, and John was talking about it outside, kindness, love, nurturing, positivity, all these things that are good, that a lot of us konamanje, and especially with the rise of social media, I'm starting to see a lot more and more of them sort of, I don't want to say they're alleviating, but I think everybody's now is all about the bag. It's all about me. It's all about getting numbers and getting the clout and trending. I must do these snacks. I must do 1, 2, 3, and 4, as opposed to promoting that kindness in the world, promoting love, promoting caring, not just being about the bag, being about the numbers, being about 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I just want to take it back to what he was saying, preaching kindness, what she is saying, what he's saying, and exactly what you picked up from his comedy show, Ringa Time Alake. The main thing that he spoke about those last few minutes triggered you. Ucabanga ngetime alakho. Azange ucabange ngenyuka, azange ucabange ngekari, ucabanga ngetime, ucabanga uthando, ucabanga spend isikhathi netime alakho. Even nano, mina nginokunjwa nje just ukubheka ingosi yami. Noma ngachuni fokala ngadlali na, just ukuyibukela nje. Just ukuthi ngira. Ngigelezisa uthando, ngigelisa all these things that are good, that every human being should be preaching. You know what I mean?
Thank you for that, Ms. Wu.
Okay,
hard. It's a sign of respect. Smooth, okay, smooth, I get it.
Paul, I know you're in a rush, and I know it's not a breakdown or anything. Just 1 minute, 1 second, 30 seconds. I think, that line was very important for me. And there was 2 songs in that. There's Papa's song, and then that song, Thug Life.
Yes.
Which is about relationship with the father. But, Papa's song was the one where I'm crying to my dad about him not being there. And Thug Life was the one where, because it's Thug Life and Machiavelli that are next to each other. So what he was saying is that the person that took over my father's role was Tupac. So if you listen to those songs very closely, it's like it was a double-edged sword that I was in. Was like, okay, my dad is not here to show me the right way. Now I'm gonna follow this guy. I'm gonna try to be like him as much as possible. So I just wanted to touch on that because he mentioned that a little bit earlier, that we sort of look at the idols a little bit, but it wasn't to say I didn't want my dad or don't need my dad or it was okay. It was just to say, damn, I'm still looking for that person who was meant to be the person who gives me direction. You get me?
Thank you for that, Riky. Thank you for that. And I think another important thing is as you climb, as you grow, right? Because I also lost my father at a young age. But what I started realizing, and it's one of the things I learned at one of your leadership seminars, is that it's important to not only have mentors, but to have mentors that are different ages, that are in different fields, because you find that in that person, right? John was my comedy father figure when I started. You know, this is why I am the way I am today. So blame John for everything you see.
So embarrassed.
You know, so along your journey, there are people, there are uncles, there are, you know, at some point my older brothers had to be my dad. My uncles had to be my dad. So it's all about finding those different peoples along, that thing in those different people along that journey. So I have one more question coming from our lovely lady here. Please take the stage.
Okay. You know how a lot of people always aspire for nuclear families, the mom, the dad, the perfect family and everything.
Yes.
My question is very similar to his, but a lot of people who did grow up with a mom and a dad, they're also, those environments have also been quite toxic as well.
Sure.
Where you know that your father is treated a certain way. When you come home, your father is like this, your father doesn't eat this. And basically everybody needs to adjust, to how your dad is or how your mom is basically. So I just want to know, maybe from Riky, like you're a young dad and from what we see every day, you seem like you're quite involved in your kids' lives. And what is it that you think needs to be done that's a little bit more different, you know, compared to the way we know our scary dads to be, those who grew up in households with moms and dads?
I mean, you know, Bianca does way more than I do, you know. First of all, I'd like to start there, you know. It's she probably does 70% of the work. I do 10, and then Mikey's sister does the other 20, you know. And I'm very aware of that because I'm not there as much as they are there. But I sort of look at it in music terms. You know, the kids are the artists, you know. And me and Bianca are the producer and the mixer. So we have to make sure that we are just very good at our jobs. That job that you have, that 10% of time that I have with him, I gotta be very good with that 10%.
Sure.
Because I know Bianca's really good at that 70%, and Jordan, his sister, is extremely beautiful with him, and it gives him something that I can't give him. You know, I might not be able to make that snare hit right on him. You know, Bianca maybe might make the bass come out of him a bit more. You know, so I look at it like that. Like everyone's just got to play a really good position within the home. You know, and even if it's two women or if it's two dads or whatever you want to call it, you know. Everyone's just got to be really great at that role that they do play. You know, that's how I've had to look at it with Mike because I'm not there as much as Bianca is.
There's a lot of unlearning we've had to do as modern parents based on how we were raised, you know. Certain things like you don't speak when there's other adults in the house. You know, there's certain things like that. And Usbuda was saying it just now that sometimes he'll just look at his kid. He'll instill all these things in her, kindness, treating them to be confident. Our kids are way more confident than us. Our kids, when I grew up, it was still black and white. Hey, I have black friends, I have white friends. My kid is not like that. She's living in a completely different world. She's growing up differently. She sees the world in a different light. The world that we grew up in is going to be completely a different world. I mean, we've had 2020 where literally the world we knew ended. We're now literally living in a new world. So I think it's up to us to redefine our family dynamics. A lot of us are going to have blended families now. A lot of us are going to have families where the brother comes from divorce, or the sister, or the this, or someone is adopted, or people are mixed race in the house, but others are darker, lighter. There's people with man buns that have 4 dreadlocks. There's going to be different people.
Finally.
So ladies and gents, I just want to take this time to say thank you to every single one of you for being a part of this conversation. And really what we're trying to do here is to encourage everyone to talk about issues of mental health, especially men, especially the gents. We want to encourage you to speak, to go seek help, going to see therapy. There's nothing wrong with going to see therapy. I go to therapy. John goes to 8 therapists. Riky goes to therapy. We all go to therapy. We have life coaches. We have people that we speak to, and we're encouraging everyone to do the same. So in closing, I want to throw to you our lovely Dr. Khanyile. In closing, what do you have to say?
Everybody knows what they have to do to get their mental health on board. And I'm going to challenge you now.
Yes.
Today, pick up the phone and call someone who you've been delaying phoning. Everybody has that person.
Yeah.
You all know who that person is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's yourself. Sometimes you just have to sit with yourself and you have
Do you have 2 phones? What if you don't have 2 phones?
Shush, I'm talking to myself. Hi, John. How have you been?
send a voice note. I don't know. So sometimes you just have to sit and do the work. And I think everybody can leave today if you can move and do 3 things. Number 1, we have this biopsychosocial approach to things. So biologically, you have to sit with yourself and really think about all the people, all the situations, all the stress you're putting yourself through, and decide better for yourself.
Yes.
You know,
Yes,
eat
I
better,
agree.
exercise, but do it.
But it's important. Yes.
It's important. You don't have to do it every day. I don't do it every day. I just had a burger just now. Don't tell my trainer. But like, I felt good. You know what I mean? So you're doing healthy things for yourself. Psychologically, have those conversations with those people, and especially your family members. Because I know if I need to call my mom and I can see my mom's not okay, I can pick up the phone and be like, dude, are you fine?
Yeah.
But can you do that, mama, papa? Are you okay? And we have difficulty doing that with the families that we have because they're so broken. So I challenge you to do that. And then socially, your friends, ask them. You don't even have to like have a big night or anything. Pick up the phone, send a WhatsApp and say, listen, no nonsense. Are you okay? I've seen that this and this has happened with you recently. I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
You're eating differently. You're isolating yourself. You're not coming out with us. You're not talking to us. Your behavior is changing. What's going on? And don't leave until you get an answer. And when you get that answer, be prepared for that answer. Because you need to then, you can't expect someone to open up to you and then you just leave them hanging. So those 3 things are really important, biologically, psychologically, and socially. You know what to do, just, it's hard, but when you do it, it's really successful and really rewarding.
Thank you for that, Dr. Khanyile. Ladies and gents, we've come to the end of the formal part of our evening. Just to echo what Dr. Khanyile said, we all know each day we all have the same amount of time. Each and every one of us have 86,400 seconds every day. It's up to you to choose what you do with that time, what you choose to fill your mind with in that time. Every day we all have the same amount of time. And I know we've all gone through a lot, but remember, it's not about what happens to you, it's what happens inside you. We still have the ability to end this year strong, so please pick up the phone tonight. Phone that one person you've been delaying to phone. And please, let's have more of these conversations. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think I want to send a special shout out to my panel. Let's give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. The godfather of comedy in SA, Mr. John Vlismas. The ever so eloquent, ever so beautiful Dr. Khanyile. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, hitmaker, legend, a man who's affectionately known in Devon as Uliki Liki, Mr. Riky Rick, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, the man who truly personifies what it means to hustle. The man who's not afraid to get his hands dirty. The man we looked up to as a groot man. That's why I can't help but call him Malume Sbu. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, DJ Sbu, Shanani Zandla. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your bartender. My name is Mpo Pops Midikwane. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
Thank you
you
for that one clap, John. Thank you. Like I said, my dad. All right, so ladies and gents, that's it. We have one more? Okay. So ladies and gents, I thought we had one more question. But no, you'll ask me in the passage, my brother. We've run out of time. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on the decks playing out, the one, the only, the legendary, rocking her Louis Vuitton bracelet. Please, put your hands together all the way from over there. Give it up for DBN Gogo!